This video is sponsored by Manscaped. This little thing belongs to one of my neighbors and it's got a huge sentimental value. As you can see, the tambour is completely broken. I want her to enjoy this for many more years, so I'm going to do my best to restore it. I'm going to start by taking the back off and see how many pieces are actually in there. And this way I will know if I'll need to make new pieces or not. I'm doing this in collaboration with my neighbor's daughter and she's got no idea that I'm working on this. Well, at least it looks like we've got all of the pieces, or most of them. Because my neighbor doesn't know about this, I'm not going to film her reaction or have her in the video, but I will let you know what she thought about this. Looks like some of the knobs are broken, and I think this might need refreshing or fixing. She does have a cat. So I think that the main problem with this sewing box, I think that's what it is the tambour or the roll top, and obviously the insides of the drawers. The fabric is detaching in some places, it just looks minging and old, and it's got some holes. I use super glue to reattach some of the peeling bits because I'm going to keep it for now, but I do have an idea how to refresh it. So it looks like all the missing pieces were behind the back panel, so that's a good thing because I won't need to make any new ones, but I just need to take this completely apart, reglue it and refinish it. And I've got a feeling that that's gonna take a minute. I don't know if you would call this a jig. I basically attached a piece of sandpaper to a piece of plywood to help me sand all the flat surfaces on those slats.
Years later.
After doing all of that by hand, I definitely did not feel like sanding the rest of this sewing box by hand, so I just used my sander. This small unit was entirely made from oak, so I didn't need to worry about veneer, which made it quite straightforward when it came to sanding it. I know this video was supposed to come out sooner, but as always things got in the way and I've been actually working behind the scenes on the workshop for a friend of mine so he can start working on furniture in his own space. It's all done now, so I'm back in business and we'll be making videos. And actually a bunch of us are working on a challenge for you guys, which will be coming out next month. Anyhow, my neighbor's cat Hugo stopped by for a quick cuddle, and now back to work. Knowing that I was about to scrape all those slats individually, I distracted myself by cleaning those little notches for the hinges. And after a little bit of procrastination, I eventually got to it. Wow, that took forever. So I've got this all sanded, and now I'm going to use oxalic acid to bleach them a little bit because this wood is a bit darker than the rest, and I want everything to look the same because I don't really know what I'm going to do with this piece as far as the colors. I want to have options. Because some of those broken pieces were trapped behind the back panel, so they were not exposed to the sunlight, and they have different color from the rest, so the oxalic acid will also help me even out the tone and make them all look the same. And because my plan is to not alter dramatically the color of this entire piece of furniture, I want all the pieces to look as close to each other as possible. The back panel, as it's typically the case, was just a piece of plywood with two different types of veneer, oak and mahogany, so I just sanded it, and that was pretty simple. This sewing box actually has two back walls and the roll top slides between them, so the mahogany side of this back panel won't be visible anyway. I use my laser packer thing to engrave my logo on the back panel, and I deactivated the oxalic acid using some water. I'm gonna let this dry, and with all this scraping, I think I'm just gonna call it a day and come back to this tomorrow. Even though I was born in the 80s, overgrown bushes and lawns are just not my thing. That's why having a great trimmer and a shaver is absolutely game-changing. I've partnered up with Manscaped, and I'm going to show you two of my favorite products that they make. I've got the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra and the Beard Hedger. I think this is about the length that I normally do. And I'm going to use the foil attachment for this bit. It glides easily on my skin and there is no irritation. The beard hedger I used at the beginning is adjustable and perfect for longer hair, but the lawnmower is what I use most often. They're super easy to use and you can rinse them. If I didn't have a stubble, this would be silky smooth. Both of them you can recharge with a USB-C cable, which is super convenient and means no extra cables. You can try Manscaped for yourself, and they're offering a special 20% discount for my viewers if you use my code FLIPPING by following the link in the description or the QR code on the screen. And now that you've seen nightmare-worthy close-ups of my face in 4K, we can go back to the project. Because this was all glued together, there was no easy way to sand the inside, and I just wanted to clean it up and refresh it, so I basically used acetone to dissolve most of the varnish, so it would be a little easier for me to sand it. And sanding alone wasn't really an option because, as you can see, those spaces are really tight, so I would probably end up with lots of scratches. So after using acetone, I scraped off most of the varnish and then I just went in with the sandpaper. And because the scraper was really tiny, so that allowed me to get into all those small spaces. And you might be wondering why I'm redoing this whole finish, because there's nothing significantly wrong with it other than, you know, scratches and some stickers or whatever is on it. It just looks orange and dated, and I just wanted to give it a nice contemporary look. It's quite interesting to me that people have such strong opinions about restoration in general, and I think I've got a pretty unique way of thinking about it. Because to me, if you have something like a telephone table that obviously no one really uses anymore because people have cell phones, And obviously people's homes don't look like they did 100 years ago, so you might need to alter it a little bit, maybe change the color or the shape or whatever, so it doesn't look out of place in modern homes and people can actually use it. I think there is place and time for sympathetic restoration, and I've done it multiple times where I think it's suitable. So yes, in my opinion, restoring furniture doesn't always mean you need to make it look exactly the way it used to, but it just means that you want to restore its function and usability. And yes, I think there's a slim line between upcycling and restoration.
One eternity later.
As you can see, the lining of these little drawers had some issues, some holes, so I decided to fix it. I'm going to try something I haven't done before, and this is called flocking. I'm going to put glue on all the surfaces that I want covered, and I'm going to spread all those little fibers onto those surfaces, and Bob's your uncle. So now that I've got adhesive on this, I'm going to put this flocking fiber inside this funky device. And to be honest, this is powered by batteries and you're supposed to attach that wire to whatever surface you want to apply it to, so electrostatically it would attract it, but it wasn't working great, so it's just much easier to just shake it. And if I could turn back time, I would have definitely removed the fabric and just basically applied this flocking fiber to the whole drawer. Regardless, it actually helped a lot and it looked much better. And when this dries, I'm going to clean it up a little bit and use a brush to remove any excess fibers. And now I'm going to put all those pieces together and actually make the roll top. I'm using a tea towel because I didn't have anything else and I think it will work just fine. I stretched it out a little bit so then when it contracts it will keep all those pieces closer together and minimize the gaps. I'm not applying a lot of glue because I didn't want it to get between those slats and glue them together by accident, because then you wouldn't be able to actually roll it. But in hindsight, I think I would have applied a bit more glue so the fabric is actually more rigid and it doesn't move sideways as much. It would have been so much easier if the sides on these pieces were not curved but just vertical, because then I would have been able to just squeeze them together and apply the glue to one side, and that just would have made it so much easier, but that's what I worked with and that's why I did what I did. I hope it makes sense. The next day I cut off the excess fabric and that's pretty much it. And if I didn't want to stain it or put any type of finish on it, that's pretty much all done. And I think for a beginner this might seem a bit difficult, but it's actually super simple. And like I said, if those pieces were not curved, it would have been even easier. I'm going to stain the front and probably just use spirit-based stain for the back of it. And the reason why is because I don't want the fabric in between the slats to get stiff. This will probably do the trick because it will get in between these little slats. And now because the fabric is stained, even if you can see it between the slats, it's pretty much the same color as the wood, so it's not a problem. This is the next day, so it's all dry. I'm just going to tidy this up because it's a bit too much in some places and I need to clean up the edges. After cleaning my flocking job, I used hard wax oil that already had some color in it on the entire piece. As you can see, this has a very natural and warm color, and it's not going to take away from the way this oak looks, and it will actually preserve these both tones and the original design. Unlike regular hard wax oil without any tinters, this when dries it looks a bit matte, but when you apply some beeswax on top of it, it actually brings it back to life and makes it look great. So what I'm trying to do is basically make this look warm and nice and pleasant and not orange. I applied the oil to every single part of this sewing box, including the inside and the bottom. As you can imagine, the hinges didn't look great, so I cleaned them up with a wire brush and some barkeeper's friend, as well as vinegar. I think because of the varnish on the hinges it wasn't working, so I actually used wire wheel off camera and then I polished them. And some of them were bent a little bit, so I used a vise and a hammer to straighten them out. And because they were made of brass, it was very easy. In case you're wondering, that green thing, it was just polishing compound. I cleaned them with alcohol and they are ready to go back on the cupboard. And the screws needed a little bit of TLC, so I gave them a clean with a sanding sponge. As always, a huge shout out to all of you beautiful people for watching my videos, liking, commenting, and especially to the channel members, you guys are the best. If you'd like to support what I do, you can buy me a coffee via Buy Me a Coffee or give me a super thanks. All the links are in the description. Thank you. I'm going to replace these wooden knobs with metal ones just to give this a bit more contrast, because they just blend in too much. And also because I like brass, and this isn't really brass, but it's shiny and I like it. And look at this cute little thing, adorable. I also installed a little knob on the roll top, but I had to take it off before installing it, because otherwise it wouldn't fit. As I mentioned before, I applied beeswax to everything, which made it look shiny, and after about half an hour I just wiped off any excess and it was ready. As I mentioned, I'm not going to film the reaction of my neighbor, but she was just shocked and surprised because she didn't know I was doing it, but she was super kind and very happy and very pleased with the results, so that's exactly what I was hoping for, so mission accomplished. If you know, let me know in the comments if this actually is a sewing box, because I didn't ask and I don't know. Maybe this is furniture for cats or dogs or tiny people, I don't know. When I was done waxing, I installed the roll top and I put the back on it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a like if you have, share it with a friend maybe, and let me know in the comments what you would like to see next. Enjoy the final results and see you in the next video. And for the two of you who care, I've lined up all the screws in the same direction. You're welcome.